All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got Thursday night football, week number 5. Rams taking on the 49ers. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'll break it down. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, do want to jump on board and ride with me, or if you do want to fade me, that's going to be absolutely free down in the pinned comment. Before we do talk about this week, let's talk a little bit about last week, and I'm happy to. We had a phenomenal week number 4 in the NFL. 3-1 on Thursday, 3-2 on Monday. Sunday we went 4-1. But what could have been, what should have been, what could have been, I know coulda, woulda, shoulda doesn't count in this industry, but the Chargers, if they beat the Giants, we have a 5-0. 5-0 Sunday. Now, I'm not crying over a 4-1, don't get me wrong. But that 5-0 was right there, and we just couldn't grab it. But nonetheless, guys, a really good week number 4. Looking to pull some of that momentum and take it into week number 5, starting it off with this game. But before we get into it, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know your favorite plays down in the comments. You're not just letting me know, you're letting a bunch of other people that are looking for some additional plays, you're letting them know as well in the comments. So get your favorite plays down in the comments. Feel free to add a little blurb as to why you like it, the reasoning, and all that. And if you are tailing people in the comments, guys, give them their flowers. Let them know if you hit because of a play that they rolled with. Love seeing that interaction in this amazing community that we're building. But let's dive into this one, guys. We got the Rams 3-1 taking on the 3-1 49ers as well. Rams coming off of a nice win against Indianapolis. 49ers coming off of a meh loss against Jacksonville, right? Now, this Rams team, I've said all along this season, really underrated. The defense is underrated, and they're starting to get healthy as well. So I do think that they are in a good spot. Let's not forget their only loss was that weird one against Philadelphia, the reigning champs, in a game in which they probably should have won. But again, coulda, woulda, shouldas don't count here. 49ers, don't know if I'm giving them the utmost amount of, credit for their wins. Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, then they lose to Jacksonville. I will throw in that the Rams did beat Houston and Tennessee, so we can't go too far down the plank, right? But let's talk about this one, guys. Rams offense versus the 49ers defense. Right now, this 49ers team is playing a decent amount of zone compared to man. We can even see in the Guy Boston Sports NFL dashboard, which if you want access to this, GuyBostonSports.com, head over to the members area NFL dashboard. There's $6.99 per month. You get each and every game in a visual format for each and every week. But this is what I want to note here. Zone, yeah, they're playing a little bit more zone than they are man, which is pretty important given the fact that Matthew Stafford's yards per attempt go up against zone, completion percentage goes up against zone, DVOA goes up against zone, EPA is way up there against zone as well. So I do think Matthew Stafford should be in a good spot when it comes to the coverage here of San Francisco. And even take a peek at this pressure, fourth or sixth or fifth worst in the league in terms of pressure rate, and blitz bottom 10 in the league as well. That's good because the one way to make Matthew Stafford struggle and make him look uncomfortable is against the blitz. So I do think that Matthew Stafford should be in a fairly good situation here. On top of those pressure and blitz numbers, we do have a couple other things to add. San Francisco, third lowest QB hit percentage, 13th highest time to pressure, meaning how long it takes them to pressure, 12th highest clean pocket percentage, meaning there's only 11 other teams in the league that are allowing the quarterbacks and the opposing team to have a cleaner pocket. So you give Matthew Stafford a clean pocket. It's been this way for a long time, right? Give him a clean pocket, he most likely will have some success. So I think that he'll be able to move the ball and they'll be able to move the ball through the air. When it comes to the run game, this has really been kind of a weird, run game from the Rams in terms of some advanced numbers saying they look good, but the eye test looking like they're a little stagnant, blah, 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 right? But I do think it's a good matchup. I mean, right now, the Rams, 10th highest yards per carry in the league, second in DVOA running, 6th highest success rate, and 8th in terms of explosive run percentage. San Francisco, 7th best yards per carry, which is obviously pretty good, 9th best DVOA, 3rd best explosive run percentage, but only 25th when it comes to success rate, as well as, I believe, EPA per attempt. So there are some minor things they're saying, okay, maybe there are some cracks in this run game system defensively for San Fran, right? So we looked at the schemes for the Rams. Man run and inside zone are two things that they rely on very, very heavily. Well, San Fran's numbers against the man scheme look pretty good, much like we just talked about. The biggest thing comes in with this inside zone scheme run, which, again, this is a LA team that runs a lot of it. Fourth highest yards per carry is what this San Fran team's allowing. So not very good, right? Fourth highest yards per carry, seventh highest EPA, third highest DVOA, and the 12th highest success rate, and 10th highest explosive run percentage. So there it is. There's our little glimmer as to what this Rams team, and I'm assuming if I know it, now you guys know it, I'm assuming they know it, that most likely will be the scheme that they run and rely on to be able to move the ball on the ground. At least one would think, right? So overall, I do think that this Rams team will have some success. And by the way, with that inside zone scheme, couple things to note here. Guess what? The three teams that they've beat also struggled against the inside zone. In Philadelphia as well, even though they lost that game, Kyren Williams had his highest yards on the ground so far through the year. So we'll talk about Kyren Williams in a little bit when we get to player prop portion, but I do think this Rams team should be able to move the ball through the air if need be, but also on the ground, which is very, very important, because if you do sit back in that zone and know that, Matt Stafford's just going to sling the ball, I do think the advantage maybe starts to lean towards San Fran. But if this is a dynamic offense, which I expect it to be, advantage leans a little bit towards the Rams there. So overall, I do think that this Rams team should be able to move the ball through the air and on the ground at least a decent amount, a decent enough amount. If we flip it over and look at the 49ers, now Brock Purdy's questionable, we have Juwan Jennings questionable, we have Ricky Pearsall questionable, obviously a couple, some backup, some, I guess splitting some snaps, but a couple linemen that are dinged up, a couple on the IR, one of them suspended, I believe, too, but I forget who that is. But either way, a little bit less of a healthy team on the San Fran side of things, right? Especially given the fact that this is a short week. I think that is important to know. But let's assume Brock Purdy plays for now. He is questionable. And, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. But I do think, though, at least for the breakdown here, we can assume that he plays. If it's Mac Jones, I think a lot of the takes that I'll have will remain true, and I will give Mac Jones a little bit of credit real quick before we dive into Brock Purdy. I do think he's a serviceable backup. I mean, I went through the trials and tribulations of Mac Jones in his short stint here in New England, right? We thought he was going to be amazing his rookie season, and then after that it was like, what happened, right? Now, did he get the fairest of shakes? No, that's another talk for another video. But nonetheless, I do still think some of my points will remain, regardless if it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. But let's take a peek at Brock Purdy. A little bit of a mixed bag in terms of what we should expect out of him coverage-wise, right? We can see the Rams, fair amount of zone, fair amount of man, kind of just splitting it up. I do believe they lean a little bit towards man. But overall, Brock Purdy, it's not like it's going to be the biggest of deals. He's a mixed bag. It doesn't look like he leans one way or the other strongly, right? When it comes to his YPA, yards per attempt, yeah, that goes up against zone, as does his completion percentage, which is obviously very strong. But his interception percentage drops, his DVOA goes up, and his EPA goes up against man. So I do think that Brock Purdy should be able to find a groove in this game to some degree. Even though I admit I think that this is a very good Rams defense, I don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be the absolute problem. What I think the problem could be is this offensive line. Now, you can see struggles against pressure, not exactly that great against the blitz either. We really only have to worry about the blitz from the Rams. They're kind of middle of the pack, right, in terms of applying natural pressure. But the blitz is something that I would say kind of concerns me here for Brock Purdy. And like I mentioned, it's the offensive line that truly does worry me. We've already seen the games in which he's struggled in, or they've struggled in. It's when the offensive line breaks down. Jacksonville last week. You could point to the Seattle game in the first week of the season, right? So I do think that this could be a little dicey for Brock Purdy overall, just due to the fact that this is an offensive line that's a little weary, right? I mean, the 7th worst adjusted sack percentage through 4 weeks, 7th highest QB's hit percentage, and 9th highest time to pressure. Or I guess you could say 9th lowest in terms of allowing people to get to him. So, yeah, that's going to be the concern. If we look at the run game, it really hasn't been great, especially when you have a feature back like Christian McCaffrey, one of the most talented guys in the league, and he really isn't getting much done. Makes you kind of concerned against this Rams squad, right? But just to kind of put a bow on and summarize it, this is a very, very good Rams defense, right? Top 10 in pretty much all the categories that we've listed so far. This San Fran team, not exactly the best on the ground so far, but I do think some underlying metrics would say that there's a potential that Christian McCaffrey can break off some of his runs, and meaning he could have a couple explosive plays to lead to decent drives for the 49ers. Now, that is a little tidbit, and we're looking at adjusted and projected and potential explosive plays, because realistically the Rams haven't totally allowed a lot of explosive plays this season. But there are some signs where there's smoke, there's fire that Christian McCaffrey could break off a couple, which kind of leads us right into the sponsor of today's video, actually, guys. If you guys do want to check it out, go check out Epic Fantasy. Use code GUYBOSTON or the link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. What I'm super, and I mean super excited about is the fact that Epic now has the web version live. This is awesome, guys. If you take this stuff seriously, you're doing it from your computer and your desktop more than you are from your phone, and Epic now has an amazing interface to be able to go and plug in their plays. But yeah, I like the idea of, Christian McCaffrey having a long run, so if we wanted that, we could head over to the longest rush, take the over on that. We'll talk about it more in the player props, but look at how simple that was. What I like about Epic Fantasy, guys, is the fact that they have better payouts and better multipliers, as well as better odds and, better lines available. For example, Kyren Williams, 67.5 rush yards, that's beating a lot of books by like 2 yards, which is really cool. They also have the fade 'em section, which I think is the coolest thing that they offer on this app here. You can go through and find other people that are throwing in plays, right? And take the other side of it. Say Coble A41, we didn't like what he had to offer here, or she had to offer. We could go in and say, okay, well, this esports pick, you know what? I think that we might actually like the under on this player versus the over. You could take it, you could fade it, and the best thing is all you need to do is hit one of the plays to be able to capitalize. So here we go. Here's a 3 pick, right? All we need is one of these to be able to cash for ourselves. So go check out Epic Fantasy. It's available in your state. You need to be on there. You're also going to get a deposit match up to $50. Go ahead and check it out. But let's talk about some player props, guys. We already kind of mentioned one of them, right? I like the idea of Christian McCaffrey and his longest rush. Is it totally based on numbers? Honestly, no. It's more so based on the idea that I do think that the dam's going to break to some degree with this Rams squad. I mean, they went up against Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, a lot of good running backs, and no one's really broken a long run against them yet. Christian McCaffrey should be the bell cow, be the workhorse, and get a lot of carries. So I think there's going to be enough bullets in the gun here. We just want him to break one, which he's only done over 14.5 once so far this season. But again, I like him to do it here in this spot. This line started out at 13.5, which wish we got it there. Right now, if you wanted 13.5, it doesn't even look like it's available. Maybe it comes down by the time we place the final plays, but nonetheless, the fact that it's moving up shows that I think that these odds makers might be on the same page as me. I think that it's going to be a spot in which, yes, to compete in this game, it's not going to be Brock Purdy and Pierce Hall or something like that. To compete in this game against a good team, you need to give it to one of the most talented and best players in the league. We forget how good Christian McCaffrey is because he struggled so far this year and was injured last year and all that, right? But overall, guys, a 15-yard run from a guy like him does not seem like it's all that crazy. Another play that I'm looking at would be right here. Kyren Williams, over 68.5. Now, we could still get 67.5, and like I mentioned, over on Epic, which is awesome, you can get that 67.5 right there, which is great to throw that into an entry. But I like this spot for him. You can see last 2 games, 94 and 77 in terms of his yards. Even the first 2 games, Houston, Tennessee, I don't know if we could say they're good defenses. I know we came into the year thinking that, but either way, against 2 good and solid defenses, he came just under this number at 66 yards apiece in those. The biggest thing that I like, and there's been a lot of talk of Blake Corum, he's going to get more carries and all that. I don't believe it. I mean, yeah, he'll get some carries, but this is still Kyren Williams' backfield for sure. By the way, guys, this is Outlier. Link down in the description. 7 days free for the tool you're seeing right now. You pair Outlier, our dashboard up, and take on Epic Fantasy. What an absolute great combo. So go ahead and check that out. Anyways, I do like the idea of Kyren Williams being the main back, the feature back here for this squad. And say this goes according to plan, in which the Rams are ultimately able to move the ball and get a lead. They're 6.5-point favorites. We could be looking pretty good, right? So I like Kyren Williams over in terms of his yards. So to sum up what we're looking at here, I know we haven't really talked about spread or total yet because I wanted to kind of show you guys Epic. I like Christian McCaffrey, long run. I like Kyren Williams over in yards. And from a spread perspective, yeah, I am going to lean Rams. I can't really sit here and find the easiest of routes to get to the 49ers. The total is what is tripping me up a little bit, because if my theory, and it's very much a working theory, right? If my theory that this 49ers team will have some big explosive plays against a Rams team, then yeah, I'm going to look at that over. I think the safer, smarter, and kind of less variable play would be to take a peek at the Rams team total over, though. If Matthew Stafford is good to go and he has a clean pocket, and like I've already mentioned, we have Kyren Williams, who could be in store for a really good game, I think that we could see the Rams put up some numbers. So one thing that I also consider here to kind of close off is the idea of a teaser or a same game parlay. Maybe we're looking at, the Rams minus 0.5, so essentially them on the money line, as well as them to go out there and score over 20.5 points, something like that. Just kind of, word vomiting right now, throwing those out there. We'll have to see what the odds actually are for those, but definitely some same game parlay potential in this one, which is great because we've been crushing these same game parlays for Thursday night and Monday night football games, right? So I do like the idea of that. But guys, as always, keep an eye down on the final plays in case we change anything, add anything like that. That'll be the source of truth. That'll be down there, GuyBostonSports.com as well if you do want to find it. But keep an eye on the pinned comment. Make sure to go check out our NFL dashboard. Make sure to go check out Outlier. Make sure to check out Epic Fantasy. Link down below. All those links are in the description. I think this could be a pretty good game, but yeah, I think the Rams are the better squad. They're at home. And we mentioned some of those Giants injuries and kind of questionabilities, right? On a short week, not loving the spot for them. But hey, we've certainly been wrong before. Not much in week number 4, but certainly have been wrong before. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.